Hey guys, welcome to UX Corner. My name's Alex.
I'm Vitor. Alex, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about the MereExposure Effect. Have you ever heard a song for the first time and you think, oh God, what is this?
All the time, yeah.
And then you hear it a couple more times and you start to think, wait, this is kind of catchy.
Yeah, totally.
This is the MereExposure Effect in action.
But what is the MereExposure Effect?
Let's find out.
The MereExposure Effect is a psychological phenomenon where people tend to develop a preference for things or people that we are more familiar with. So repeated exposure to something increases our familiarity to it and influences how we feel towards it. Social psychologist Robert Zion explored this in the 60s when he conducted a series of experiments where he found that the more people were exposed to certain words, patterns, or images of faces, the more they liked them. Zion's experiments show that familiarity is a strong motivator of human behavior. Familiarity only requires a limited amount of cognitive resources, and it feels easy.
2020 has been a stressful year for all of us. There's been a lot of change and new daily rituals to become accustomed to. Am I the only one that has replaced forgetting my keys or phone as I leave the house with forgetting my mask? Hey, where's your mask? Considering all the new changes that we've had to adapt to, the last thing we want to do is break from existing patterns in our designs. Nostalgia is almost therapeutic. Like, how many times have you watched The Office rather than chosen something new? I'm definitely guilty.
Exactly. We tend to stick to what we know. Getting creative with your designs doesn't mean coming up with completely new patterns that may be unrecognizable by users. It's better to follow patterns that currently exist in order to avoid cognitive overload that puts stress on your users. They shouldn't have to figure out what your new designs might mean. For example, when you think of notifications on your phone, what do you picture? Probably something like this. How would you feel if instead they look like this? Similarly, what if an app had buttons shaped like triangles rather than circles or rectangles? We bet you'd probably skip the triangle altogether and think it was just a graphic design element on the website or app. But that doesn't mean that you can't or shouldn't get creative with your designs. Just make sure to do it using familiar patterns.
A great example of this is Typeform. They've nailed using familiar patterns for surveys and forms while still creating delightfully designed interactions. When it comes to forms and surveys, best practice says to design them vertically rather than horizontally. It makes sense because users, particularly in the West, usually read from top to bottom, left to right. Typeform adds a creative spin to their surveys and forms that reduces cognitive load for the user, and it almost becomes enjoyable. I mean, I like them. The input fields are still added in a vertical way, but have now become dynamic.
It's also important to keep longevity in mind when designing.
What do you mean by that?
You should always be thinking about what the future state of something will look like, rather than simply designing for the now. Remember, the more familiar a design is, the more users will begin to reject it when you change it down the road.
Do you mean like every time Instagram or Facebook makes a drastic, unannounced change to their interface, shopping icon, cough cough, or when Google replaces all of their very familiar icons with icons of the same color?
You still sound a little salty.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a little time.
Well guys, that's it for today. We hope this video showed you how you can use familiarity in your designs to create more delightful experiences.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for your weekly dose of UX Corner.
Let us know in the comments how you've used the MereExposure Effect in your designs, while still making sure to add in your creative flair.
My name's Alex.
And I'm Vitor.
Now go out there and solve some people puzzles.